It's elitist crap to say that she is not a good singer. Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I'm a voice teacher. Today I will be reacting to and analyzing two singers singing the same part, the same song. I'm gonna look at Billie Eilish and I'm gonna look at Miley Cyrus, and they're both gonna be singing My Future by Billie Eilish, which I just listened to for the first time. And I like it. I like it a lot. I love the animation style of the music video, so I'm really excited to see this. This video is sponsored by Quiet Curtains at acoustic-curtains.com. I recently moved into a new house, and one of the primary reasons that I was excited about this new house is it gave me a new room to do my lessons in. A room that was with a door, where previously I was just in like this great room, and the people that I live with did not love that. So I was super excited about moving into this new house. Then I got here and it was still like fairly loud in the rest of the house whenever I would make sounds. So I started looking into some different solutions for that. And I stumbled across Quiet Curtains. And I was like, hey, I think this would be a really good solution. They claim to provide 20 decibels of sound reduction. And so I got in contact with them and got a curtain. And after I installed this curtain, I am now able to practice in this room, still with my door closed. You can still hear a little bit out in the rest of my house, but like I've sung really loud and one of my roommates has like stayed asleep. And I am extraordinarily loud. If you are someone who needs moderate amount of soundproofing, please consider Quiet Curtains. All of their curtains are custom made and laboratory tested. So if you want to go read any of the studies that they've done on how effective they are, please go head over to their website. It is easily accessible. And then call them up or send them an email and get a quote. Let them know that I sent you and you will get 10% off. So again, go to acoustic-curtains.com and tell them that Sam Johnson sent you. Thank you to Quiet Curtains for your sponsorship. It has tremendously affected my quality of life. Here we go.
You check your complexion to find your reflections all alone.
We have the same microphone.
I had to go.
Okay, I really think that Billie is a talented young singer and musician, and I love seeing how she's progressing over time. She usually tends to default to a really quiet sound. I'd say that that's kind of her default position, and then she really often from that goes into a sort of breathy place. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, she knows who she is. She knows what kind of sounds she wants to do. I'm seeing whenever she performs, I just see so much passion on her face, so much invested in the words that she's saying and in the sounds that she's making. It never seems manufactured to me. It always just seems like someone who's really trying to express themselves at a deep level. I think that's really cool.
You check your complexion to find your reflections all alone.
Nice vowel.
I do.
So those two together, I actually hear way more breath coming through with Miley. A big thing that I listen for with voices is how much air is coming through, how much resistance to that air is there from the vocal folds. And my goal when I'm warming someone up is to try to get it to like a perfect medium place. Just even amount of air, even amount of resistance. With Miley, right then, it seemed like there was a little bit of extra air, so if I was warming her up, I'd make sure that she's capable of doing it at that place in the middle. And then if she wants to just do it like this with a little bit of extra air for color, like that's great. It's the exact same idea as me wanting Billie to be able to go a little bit louder and a little bit more, just to be a little bit more dynamic. It's just giving the artist as many options as they can to express themselves well. But yeah, that's kind of what I look for, is just you hear that extra breathiness. If that's your default, see if you can get toward more what Billie's doing, where there's the default is not breathy, but the breathiness becomes a choice.
'Cause I'm in love with my future. Can't wait to meet her.
Yeah, everyone always tells me like, oh, breath, she just sings so breathy all the time. I don't think she does. Like, she uses breath quite often as a color choice, but from everything that she's doing so far, it's just a really small amount of air, pretty decent amount of vocal fold closure. Honestly, it sounds like a really healthy phonation to me. Because it's so quiet, she doesn't need to do much with her mouth. She doesn't need to open it too much. And also because it's not going very high, it just shows like, when you are singing lower stuff and quieter stuff, you can often get away with having a slightly smaller mouth position. So that seems much closer to how you'd use it with speech, where when we go back to Miley, she's opening her mouth quite a bit more, but she's also giving it a lot more energy.
I'm in love with my future. Can't wait to meet her.
Good, yeah. So that shows to me the beginning, what she was doing with all that extra breath was a choice, which is awesome. Like, I love it when artists just have a bunch of different choices. It has this nice buzz to the sound. It's this, 'cause I, versus, 'cause I. If the stuff that she was doing before wasn't a choice, when she started getting louder, it would start turning into more of what I just did. 'Cause you just can't get really loud if you don't have a little bit more of that resistance. And that's what makes me think that Billie is so capable of it, because I don't hear all that extra air. I hear, 'cause and if you just lean into it, it gets louder, but it doesn't like totally throw out the recipe that's working. You see that Miley is using a much larger mouth. She's got a lot more space between her teeth. A lot of people will call that a more resonant sound. Maybe. Depends on what you think the word resonance means. Colloquially, it definitely just means loud, I think, and she is significantly louder than what Billie's doing. And it's interesting to hear just the overall interpretation of these songs, because I think that if you do this song really, really quiet like what Billie is doing, it kind of feels more introspective. It just like has a totally different vibe than what Miley does. I like both of them. When I heard the song the first time, I was like, oh, this is a cool jazzy tune. Like, there are some interesting chords that I don't hear all the time in pop music. There's some interesting runs. Obviously, the lyrics are just so uplifting toward, self-empowerment. And I was like, oh yeah, this would definitely work as a few different interpretations, because that's what jazz does, is it like lets you interpret a song in a bunch of different ways.
I know supposedly I'm lonely now. No, I'm supposed to be unhappy without someone.
Ooh, I like that run.
But aren't I someone?
I also, Phineas is he's so good. Phineas is such a good songwriter and good musician. I love whenever I see them performing together, whenever he does things vocally, because they're really well connected. I love it. The bottom, I heard a little bit of extra air coming through, but then as she started going toward the top, I heard that extra breathiness kind of disappear, and it was just that really delicate vocal configuration. It was really quiet, but just delicate and buzzy, but flowy at the same time. She's good. Like, I don't think she gets enough credit for how good she is as a vocalist. And just because she shows like a limited tool set doesn't mean that she's not really, really, really good at that tool set. Then she went into that little run on the way down that was so delicate. And I think that a lot of people try to just blast runs, but most people that I see that are really good at runs, they do it starting from a place that is that kind of light. I think there is a sort of correlation there. If you have too heavy of a vocal mechanism, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of agility. For me, I tend to sing with way too heavy of a vocal mechanism, and it's really hard to get that agility. I also like with her that because she's singing it so soft, and her mouth is fairly closed with all of this, which often, I would ask to drop the jaw a little bit more, just because for most people that's easier. But for her, because it seems to be working just fine. It's also letting her go to like those N's and hold out on an N for a little while and go between the vowel and the consonant, and it just kind of flows between them in a really smooth way. I like Billie Eilish. Like, I really do like her. I would love to work with her. Oh my gosh, to work with someone that talented, that young, and just explore what's going on with her voice. Like, does she need me? Absolutely not. But, I think that would be really fun to work with.
I know supposedly
Yeah, then a totally different interpretation.
I know I'm supposed to be unhappy without someone, but aren't I someone?
I think that Miley uses really good vowels, like for someone who's singing a little bit louder and who wants that more open sound. It's just a totally different interpretation, but she doesn't really go toward those really wide vowels. She keeps everything nice and narrow. It's like a ventriloquist voice, just ma, ma, ma. Someone, some versus sa. You hear that tonal difference as I go between the and the ah. Just making that small change, I think, makes everything so much more together. It just sounds better. Like, there is that judgment, that subjectivity of just me preferring that sound, but it's way easier to do. It's just way easier to do. And I do think that Miley goes toward those more shaped vowels more often with the videos that I've seen, at least with this one. So if you are someone who is more like Billie, who is stuck with singing quiet, but most things are working quite well, there's not an extra like hemorrhaging of air, try playing around with those vowel shapes. Like, honestly, if Billie were to start singing louder and she started using those vowel shapes, more of that, I think she'd find tremendous success. When I saw the No Time to Die, which, unfortunately, it's the only thing that I have seen where she explores those different sort of volumes and more resonant sounds. I saw a little bit of extra like smiling into it, just ah. And so I would love to just change that to da, kind of more like what Miley did. That said, like working with Miley, I would probably want to see if she could do as delicate of a sound as what Billie's doing. Honestly, like both of them I think can learn from each other by trying to explore the sounds that these other creators are using, just so that they can feel like, oh, I know what that feels like. It's an option for me. And that's the whole point of vocal technique. That's the whole point of voice training, is to give more options. So yeah, these are both really good pop singers, very talented. Maybe compared to like, okay, if we're taking great singers, people who people say are like technically amazing, if we're looking at Yeba, if we're looking at Whitney Houston, if we're looking at Beyonce, like they have just a variety to their voice, right? They're able to do all of these things. I think that Beyonce could sing this song exactly like Billie. Not that she'd want to, because they're different people, but like she could use those same sort of really small, delicate sounds. I think she could blossom into this really large sound in the same way that Miley's doing. I think that she'd also have like a crazy extension on top. Like, that's what I think people mean when they talk about what a great vocalist is. And for someone to say that Billie is a bad vocalist because she is good at, like, her toolbox is limited. She only uses a certain range and she only uses a certain volume and certain vowel colors, and like you know what I mean, compared to like Beyonce, who uses more. I think it's unfair. I really think it's unfair, because ultimately, who cares? Who cares who can do more of those things? As long as you're expressing yourself well, and I think both of them express themselves extraordinarily well. At that point, it just becomes like an aesthetic preference, and I think it's fine for us to have aesthetic preferences. I think we just need to admit it, because I see people arguing all the time like, no, this is a way better singer than this person, and it's like, we're forgetting what the point of singing is, which is heightened communication. We are 100% forgetting that, and it is fine to be like, well, this person doesn't use all these things. That's what I'm doing in this video, but I think that putting it in a frame of like, I want them to be able to do these other things so that they can show all of the different parts of them, I think that's a healthier way of doing it, rather than being like, Billie's trash. She has to use autotune all the time. She's obviously not using autotune on this. Billie's trash. She only sings breathy all the time. It's just not true. It's elitist crap. It's elitist crap to say that she is not a good singer. It just is. Same thing with Miley. They are both really good singers because they're very good at communicating what's going on in their heart to millions of people who love what they're doing. That's fine. Like, it's totally fine. But then I see all of these people are like, no, it's blah, blah, blah. You're full of crap. Just get over yourself. Like, people can be good and make different sounds than what you want them to be able to make. So, yes, I feel like I am clear on that now. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment below. If you like these videos and want to get notified of more of them immediately, please ring the bell after you subscribe. And if you want to talk to me and to a bunch of other really nice people, go check out my Discord. There's a link in the description, as well as the link to Quiet Curtains. So thank you so much for that sponsorship.